Good morning. I'd like to call the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. It's Monday, September 16th, 2013. It is now 8:32. First order of business, I would like to add an item to the agenda, the EM performance grant, and I would like to put it, if there's no problem, I would like to put it on, we'll make it 8A, if that's okay?
Fine.
All right. Do I have a motion to do that?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right.
Aye.
Item 1, public forum limited to 3 minutes regarding any item on the agenda. Anybody wishing to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item 2, approval of the minutes of September 4th, 2013. That is a regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any additions or corrections?
There's a couple of small typos
Go right
that
ahead.
I just reviewed with Karen, and she'll make the change.
Okay.
Just-
You got them all? Okay. Anything else besides substance? No? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 3, Finance Director Sheila Volano, received monthly report from the Finance Director. Morning, Sheila.
Sheila?
How you doing?
Good.
Okay. Where would you like to start us?
Well, we have August reports. We'll start with revenue. I have some changed pages that actually, your reports were prior to some changes that we made. The Board of Finance has, they updated copies. They're just minor typos, so I don't know if you want to see them or not, but I'm certainly happy to pass them out.
On the revenue pages?
Yes.
Yeah, you had, I picked those up.
Yeah, there was a column.
I think actually
Labeled.
that we put together some packets of, I think these are all, I think you can each take a packet.
Okay.
You only need 4.
And this,
One more.
I'll put it in this box if you want to give me. All right.
I don't know, Scott, I think we're good.
That says Joe's.
At some point, we're gonna be a little more, a little less overwhelmed in our office, and we're gonna be able to get these reports out to you in a more timely fashion instead of late Friday.
Been busy?
Been busy. Okay.
All right.
All right, so revenue. We have received 51.48% of our budget at the end of August, as compared to 51.86% at the end of August last year. Tax collections are slightly lower than they were last year at the same time, 52.27 versus 52.79. I don't think that, at this point, I really don't have any comment on that. The tax collector always seems to make her budget or comes very close to it, and I'm sure it's just a timing issue at this point. There's nothing that I know of that is unusual, so. It's, in terms of the other departments, they pretty much are on track. A few things that are unusual that are really not anything material. Well, the police department shows 36.69% versus 2% last year, and that's because their budget last year was a little bit too high at $30,000. This year it's $15,000, so we may be too conservative this year, but that's okay. That's better than being under. Finance actually is higher than it was last year, although not high enough. 6.69% versus 2.77, and you all know that's the interest income. Don't forget that the fire department is, we accrue
Behind him.
July, right, so it should be 8.3%, and they're at 9.6, so they're actually ahead of where they should be.
Well, remember last year too, they were down a body in there that could have some, remember? They were down a billing person, wasn't, they had
Oh, they were changing over their
The-
computer system.
The
Right.
billing, yeah, that,
And I thought they were replacing
Yeah.
someone too, some of the.
you know, that may
monitors.
have actually been even the year before that. Last year they
Okay.
had a really good year.
Okay. No, they had a good year,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I know there were some, okay.
So revenue looks good.
Okay, and any questions on revenue?
Just two questions on your report, Sheila. On the received column, down the bottom, those numbers, the percentages aren't correct.
No.
The 3.5%.
Okay.
Something stuttered on your program. And just a
We
question.
we looked at these Friday afternoon.
I know, it's not material, but, and Joe, the selectmen's revenues?
Yeah.
We doubled our budget already?
I tell you.
What was the item?
That's what
Just
I was
out
gonna
out of
ask.
curiosity, what was the $1,900 item?
It
No,
was probably proceeds from the auction
Yeah.
or an eviction.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's either
We
surplus
have-
property that we sell or eviction.
Okay,
We have, unfortunately, an ongoing eviction.
okay.
Okay.
That's not necessarily good news, it sort of jumped out
No.
as a funny number.
No, but, you know.
Okay,
Anything else on revenue?
Nope, that's all.
Sheila? Expenses now?
Okay, so this report at the end of August, we have no storm expenses to compare because we didn't have Storm Sandy yet at the end of last year.
Please, don't say that.
So it's a pretty clean comparison. Let's see. On the town side, we expended unobligated 31.4% of our budget versus 30% last year. So it is a percentage, 1.4% higher than last year, but I really, again, that is all timing. There's no departments at this point that have anticipated that there will be any problems or that we see any problems with. It's early in the year. We keep a close eye on everything. So there's really nothing here that's unusual.
Any questions on expenses? Okay, we'll move on.
Okay, so we can take a quick look at the medical report, which I reformatted to some degree. We had a difficult July and a better August. Let's see. Okay. We're still, if you annualize out, and I always talk about this, it's hard to annualize out 2 months of the year, but, so what I did is, I took the budgeted number, 989,000 is what we budgeted, and even with that, we're actually a little bit low. We're projecting a $333,000 deficit at this point in the year. I think our budget was a little lower than it should have been. However, that being said, you really can't, it's hard to predict because it's all a matter of how the claims come in.
Don't you do a rolling budget?
On the pink, it's rolling 12 months, and that's even worse. Because if you look back at last year's claims for September through June, they were high.
You know, one thing I will mention is we're scheduled to meet with our insurance consultant, Anthem, and the Board of Ed regarding the review of claims on which side they are, meaning education
Yeah.
versus town. And there might be adjustments in what we're getting from the Board of Ed. I mean, don't forget last year, I don't have it in front of me, Sheila, you can help me out here. They did not fund what was budgeted for the
Right.
entire year.
Right.
And yet, we're seeing it affected here. Now, maybe that budget was too high on their end, I don't know, but that's what we're gonna look at.
Right. Well, one of the things that, and the reason is on the second page, there are a lot of statistics, and there's probably too many statistics for the average person even. It's a lot of numbers, but I think the biggest point that I wanted to make here is that it's hard to compare claims in the aggregate because the number of contracts are changing. They've gone down quite a bit. If you look at, let's see, there's so many numbers in here, I can't even, the average number of claims contracts is right above the gray line.
Mhm.
All right, we're at 628 contracts combined, town and Board of Ed, right now. And at the end of fiscal 12, we were at 663 contracts. That's a big difference. So if you look at the claims in the aggregate and you say, well, we're doing a little better, well, we're really not because we have so many less contracts.
Right, but the cost per contract is more because it could
Exactly.
be the claim, it just, remember we also
Yeah.
increased our stop loss. So that's another factor.
Right,
I
now,
think we had the 225.
yep, down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Not the whole time, it was 175 back.
No.
Right, and you know what, these are
Those years
questions
are
that
right, you're
have
right.
Mm-hmm.
come up in meetings, so I thought I'd put it
Yeah,
all
no,
on.
yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Since 2010, we've been
Right.
225.
Right. And this meeting is next month, by the way. But the other thing we've got to consider is that because of the Affordable Health Care Act, insurance premiums are going, and cost
Yeah.
of medical is going sky high, and something that maybe wasn't anticipated in the last budget. And we will have to address it. Okay.
Joe, I think the other question, when you're meeting with the Board of Ed, is there anything in that group that opted out on the Board of Ed program that meant that the healthiest opted out? So that the contributions that came from that, so I don't know how you determine that, but.
Well, and not that I want to, and we can't get into individual contracts,
Right.
okay, which I don't want to be a part of that, nor should we. The second thing, too, is to keep in mind is that through collective bargaining, which we're involved with 3 unions right now, we are offering different types of coverage. Okay, I can't go into it, I can talk in executive session, but I think you all know what we're talking about. So that will help mitigate this if there's an agreement and once the contract gets put into place.
One last thing about the statistics here. Anthem always provides us, when it's time to renew the contract, with their, what they call expected paid claims. It's their projection. And historically, we've never really used that as a budget number because it's always been, we thought, very high. This year, their expected paid claims is 12,254,000. It's the very first number. And my projection is 12,236,000.
Yeah, very
So
much difference.
it's pretty close,
Mhm.
which is sort of a good thing. So perhaps, they'll be right and but what it does is it just still shows that we'll have a $333,000 deficit or close to that.
And like we mentioned last meeting, once we finally get a definite number on our surplus, Sheila and I will propose to offset some of that deficit with our surplus from the general fund
Right.
to keep the fund whole. So there's a bunch of things, a couple of things that we can do.
It's difficult. What is IBNR?
Incurred but not reported claims.
Okay.
Any more questions, Sheila?
No, but it is some years we've benefited, some year, it's just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's why you have to keep analyzing it, but we've had surpluses, we've had,
Well, it's extremely difficult to predict.
right, it is.
I mean,
Particularly when you're self-insured. I mean.
That's my,
right.
Okay, Sheila, anything else you want to bring to our attention?
No, I think that's.
Any other questions on the packet? Okay, thank you very much. Item 3, Deputy Police Chief Jeff Hutchinson, discuss and take, item 4, discuss and take possible action to award RFP 3-1314, accident/crime scene mapping package, subject to the recommendations from the Board of Finance in accordance with April 12, 2011 bond resolution.
Good morning.
Morning.
Point, Chief, how you doing?
Good. As you know, we have a new incident command vehicle that we purchased from bonding from 2013. And as we've presented to you before, there were some peripherals that go along with that vehicle that we wanted to purchase moving forward. This is one of those items we're talking about. It's a crime mapping package that'll go with the van, or the incident command post. Basically, it's essentially surveying equipment. It's laser measuring devices for all crime scenes, accidents, anytime we're gonna have to do any measuring or crime scene documentation. An example of why we need it or how it's gonna benefit us is we had unfortunately a fatal accident a couple weeks ago, and it was a pretty complicated scene where the vehicle left the ground and went in the air and struck things up high. And so essentially the measuring we do now is all the tape measures, triangulation. It's a pretty labor-intensive process, takes several hours. We shut down the roads. We have several people out there recording and mapping and photographing. With this laser measuring device, it's going to cut our time down to fractions for the period of time we use for measuring that. And then that extends into crime scenes that don't include accidents anywhere around a house, inside a room, those sorts of things that we're going to be dealing with on the investigative aspect of any kind of scene. So, as I said before, and I think First Selectman just handed out a expenditure list for the command post. This is one of the peripheral items that we were asking for originally that was going to increase the cost of the command post. Our original budgeted was $185,000, and if you add up all the peripheral items, we're still at 136, which gives us a surplus of 48,500 and change. So with the purchase of this item, the crime mapping package, which is $8,146.25, in addition to the radio equipment installations, the tablets, the graphics for the side of the vehicle, and the software that we need for the crime mapping, that's where we're going to be at. This particular item went out to bid, and this was the only vendor that submitted a bid. It complied with all the specifications we were looking for. It's going to do everything we need, and it's within the range that we anticipated for cost. So at this point, we're asking that the Selectmen approve the bid, which was previously approved and recommended by the Board of Police Commissioners to purchase.
And does this have a useful life, which is the same as the vehicle? I mean, is this good for?
Essentially, it's hardware, so the useful life is several years out. What you might see moving forward is software upgrades, but the hardware should last us, 5-10 years easy. I'm not sure it'll last the 20 years that we're hoping the vehicle lasts, but certainly at $8,000, we're going to get our use out of it over the next 10 years.
Plus, the technology has got to improve,
It's going to, yeah. And we're working on, this total stations, it's called. It's kind of a term for the type of measuring device it is. It's used everywhere around. When our guys go to training, that's the equipment they're trained on. Problem is we don't have it, so it's helpful for them to have the equipment they go and get trained on. And as I said, it's going to increase efficiencies at the scene. You'll probably save money in the first 5 scenes because of the fewer hours we're spending out there.
Well, just even in road closures.
And road closure, yeah. So,
Who installs this? What is
it's not really an installation. This package actually comes with a training for 8 personnel. So it's a piece of equipment that's on board.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be, hardwire installed or anything. It just goes with the command post.
This is all bonded, right?
Correct.
Would it make potentially more fiscal sense to bond the vehicle and then the other stuff come out of the operating? I mean,
They don't have it in their budget.
They don't have it.
Yeah, I had kind of the same question, but then I realized it was really part of the equipment
It
package
is,
that we
but-
approved with it. That's why I asked about the useful life, because it probably won't,
No,
it may not
that's why
match
I'm-
the useful life. I think going forward, we probably ought to pay more attention to the useful life of some of the equipment that goes in these and put them in the regular budget instead of in the bonding package. I think the fact that it was approved in the bonding package probably means we should leave it there, but, we've all talked about not
Well, I think
doing
we should leave it there, but
10 or
then I
20
think we
year.
should close the bond.
Yeah.
There's 50.
What happens is that the amortization of the payments does not necessarily
Yeah.
follow the 15 or 20
Okay,
years.
okay.
Sheila is very good on amortizing the smaller or lower priced equipment quickly.
Okay.
Okay? All right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can it be done separately within the same bond? Only because,
Yes.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that's,
All right. I would move we approve RFP 3-1314 in the amount of $8,146.25.
There a second?
second?
Any further discussion? See none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Thank you, Chief. If the board would allow me, I'd like to, what we just added as 8A, I see the fire chief standing out there, and he might be going to another call. I would like to call him forward, if that's okay? Morning, Chief.
Good
Keeping
morning.
you busy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, this is the same grant that the Board of Selectmen, or the first Selectman has signed every year, the Emergency Management Grant for $11,000. They first advised me that the old resolution was fine. We sent the package up, then they changed their mind and said they needed a new resolution signed by
was
the
surprised.
first Selectman. So that seems to be their practice for the last couple of months, so we're here to ask for the board to adopt a new resolution, so the first Selectman could sign it, and I can send it back up with the package. That's it.
I would move we authorize the first selectman to sign the grant package
Second?
as presented.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Yep. And thank you to the board for letting us do that. Okay, where am I at? 5.1, Park and Recreations Director Rick Maynard. Consider and take possible action to award rebid 14-1314, pardon me, Jacobs Beach Boardwalk, subject to the recommendation from Board of Finance in accordance with the April 12, 2011 bond resolution. Morning.
Good morning. Will Thompson's here also too. Obviously, he's our architect on the project. We had two bids a week ago, and Old Colony Construction for, I think you may have the numbers here, $381,415, and Coastline Consulting and Development for $394,933. And after considering the relevant experience and expertise and checking references and discussing with the Parks and Recreation Subcommittee members, we were recommended that the bid be awarded to Coastline Consulting and Development. And the dollar amount is going to change. I think in the note I sent to you, Joe, was, we didn't know what the deduct amount was going to be yet. Will was on vacation, and he did the computations for us, and so the amount we're asking for is $364,933, which would include deducting alternate number one.
364.9 what?
$364,933.
33.
I should mention that that number may even come down a little more. There's going to be, it's based on a square foot tally and adjustment.
What was the alternate for the other company then?
Both had a square foot deduct. One was $50 a square foot and the other was $52.
That was in the bid specs, the square footage amount.
Okay, what are we deducting? Or what are we eliminating?
We should vote to deduct the 30,000,
Mhm.
which is the number Rick gave you. The only reason I'm being at all vague is it's a curving form, and I want in the contract documents to have the selected contractor sign off on the tally. It will probably be even a little less. In other words, the total deduct right now is based on 600 square feet. It may be as much as 716 square feet we're removing.
So okay, just so I understand this, so the boardwalk won't be as big?
It's going to be slightly smaller.
Smaller, okay, so that's
Right.
why you're
Basically on the
deducting,
bathhouse,
okay.
right?
Exactly. It's the south bathhouse section that
Okay.
we're removing.
The boardwalk is the same as the decking around the bathhouse.
Okay,
Okay,
so-
so we're not changing the width, we're
No.
shortening. the
All we're
length.
doing is there's a southern deck that's about 20 by 30 that we're removing. But by the time you add, there's some curving elements, the deduct may be more like 700 square feet. I'm using 600 square feet deduct from the standpoint of a vote, to create a round number that we're saying, here's how much we're moving at least 600 square feet.
So what we're removing, if you're looking at the bathhouse to the left, the water side of the bathhouse, the deck around that part of it, we're taking out.
Does it cover the entrance to the restrooms?
No,
It doesn't?
no.
So it stops there.
All that accessible connection and the whole length stays the same. It's really just
That stays.
a space on the southern side of the bathhouse.
Okay.
What is the material that's being used? Is it a,
It's the structure is a wood frame with a special foundation system for the type of velocity zone it is, and then it's epay decking
I'm
on
sorry,
top.
what velocity zone in
In other
terms
words,
of?
this is a, a coastal
Yeah.
flood zone, but all of the construction has been designed based on FEMA's rules and FEMA's recommendations, what's called 4th edition engineering standard, to accommodate those kind of loads. It's based on storm design rules.
So it will be designed, the materials will be designed and engineered to withstand a storm?
They are designed to withstand the design loads based on current engineering standards for that location.
In this 364,933, that is a guaranteed maximum price?
That's a fixed price
Fixed, okay. all right.
for
Same thing.
specific, what's been drawn in the documents, or
Okay.
what's designed.
So we don't anticipate any change orders upping this price?
We do not, I mean, we always know there's possibility, but no, it's a
Okay.
fixed price.
Because my concern is that we're close, not very close, but close to the 400,000 that was appropriated.
I understand.
And when I saw the original come in, I said, well, we don't have enough room here. So I just want to make sure that
Well, and that's part of why.
we got to do it.
I
for the
created,
budget. Yeah.
well, and that's why I created that placeholder to be able to adjust the scope of area. And we deliberately took out an area that will have really the least impact on the whole assembly and the whole way it works.
Okay.
So the deduct was a cost decision, primarily.
Primarily.
It's not a utilization decision.
Well, it's sort of a subtle area because it's to the south side of that back bathhouse is sort of a nice picnic spot. It has potential to be that, and originally I thought it'd be nice to have a hard surface there, but we have a fair amount of hard surface, and you could still make that a picnic spot. So, and there's nothing preventing if you ever want to add more to do that, but this way, we're kind of working very much within the budget. And that's why I configured it that way.
Now, Will, rather, at first when we went out to bid, we had gone for a whole ball of wax of everything, and then you broke up the bids. And that was wise because the project came in, so we wanted to, and it looks great, by the way.
Thank you.
The question I have here is, so the coastline will do everything, including the footings and not just the decking, so.
That's correct.
All right, you saw no need to separate the bid for one to put the pilings or footings and then
No.
someone else to do the decking?
No,
Like
I-
you did in the first bid?
No, I just did that in the first go-around in the spring because we potentially had a singular site contractor,
Mhm.
and there is a site aspect. Coastline will be responsible for the whole assembly,
Okay.
the site and the carpentry.
I guess the next question is, why are we not picking the lowest bidder?
Basically, the main driver was based on similar kind of, particularly on the finish side, similar scope of work, similar types of finished assemblies. Coastline has a lot more experience, at least through all that we were given, and from following up with phone calls, with decking and decking type assemblies.
Have you worked with either of these companies before?
No, not directly.
Okay.
I have. On the Marina Commission, I worked with Coastline Consulting, and they were very professional. I have nothing but good things to
Well,
say
and I
about
had
Coastline.
incredibly good
Mark
response
Jackson is a very,
from a number of design professionals.
Yeah.
So they have more experience in this type of work
That's
potentially?
correct.
That's what-
The other bidder has a lot of bridge experience, but I saw very little on this side, and in making phone calls, it became more and more apparent.
Coastline also was our consultants in regard to the dredging
Yeah.
and the bulkhead.
I've also been familiar with their work. I did a lot of work Stonington Borough years ago. In other words, I've encountered them, but I've not worked directly with them. So.
Okay.
And when will it begin, if this is approved?
We're hoping by October, because
And how long of a job is it?
mid-December, I believe, was the
That's what we have for
finish date.
substantial completion. We also, it has a proprietary foundation system, and that supplier has set up inventory, so once the job is released, they can move that very rapidly. So we've kind of laid some groundwork for that, for whoever is approved.
Okay.
I'm just gonna be devil's advocate, does it make sense to do it going into the winter or wait until the spring?
Well, the problem with spring is then we get back into, there's an environmental
Okay,
ruling as of late March, and I had to ask for a waiver on that the first time around. And I just soon buy us time rather than cut it close.
all right. And after this portion is done, what additionally has to be done? Or is that it?
We
Still
have
has-
several small kind of items to do with grass areas. Also the two changing stalls on the end of the bathhouse, but that's something that could be dealt with on a very small bit kind of level. And the floor in the bathrooms, we want to do an epoxy floor. But those are really just very small line items, sort of something you can decide as the Board of Selectmen and Park and Recs, how and when you want to do.
And is that in the budget? Rick?
It's, there'll be money left in this, the funds for this to help cover some of those things.
I mean,
The
in that
painting of the floor is
allocation.
minimal. It's,
I mean, you could also, if it's that minimal, instead of financing the rest of it, you can also try to absorb in your operating budget.
yeah, I mean, it's an epoxy paint. What Will's projecting or proposing is the concrete floor, it's porous, and so, things get on the floor that, it's messy. And so this basically seals it, and it has a nice finish to it that will help protect odors and that kind of thing from getting into the concrete.
Okay.
And so that's something that is pretty simple. It's a very small line item.
Anything else? See you, Vice Chairman of the Park and Rec Commission. Morning, Barbara. Would you like to add anything, or?
I'm sorry, I thought we were way down on the agenda, so.
Well, you're number 5, if that's way down at midpoint.
Did you already have, I apologize, the discussion about the Boardwalk bid?
Yes, that's what we're discussing right now.
Oh, okay, the concrete part threw me
Yeah.
off.
Okay.
The one other thing is there may be some furniture line items, but again, that's something to decide, is to do with additional benches and things like that.
And there's some fundraising we're doing already for that, and there's some people who've already donated some money for benches.
Okay. Good. Do we have a motion? For discussion, at
Yeah,
least?
well, do you want to make the motion first, or?
It's up to you.
I guess the issue of the two bids and the difference, and I know we've had good luck and good experience with Coastline, but do we know that the other, I mean, we're talking about a 3% difference, do we know that the other company doesn't have the capability, or doesn't have as good a capability?
I had some very mixed reports.
Okay.
And what's interesting is the other company did list chronologically a lot of projects, and really I could only find one that had a lot of similarity and was very rectilinear as far as the carpentry side. And to show that many projects and virtually, almost nothing in the same kind of scope of work, that alone is a flag for me, especially when the other bidder has pretty vast experience. And I'm getting reports from, like, as an example, on the other bidder, Coast Guard inspectors who tend to be not very effusive. Like, we never have a problem with them. They do exactly what we say. And the other firm, I was not getting such clarity about. And I'm not comfortable with their experience.
And the Park and Rec Commission, the subcommittee has reviewed all the documents, and they're obviously in agreement,
Yeah,
Barbara?
Yes, in fact, one of the criticisms of when there was some opposition to the beach improvements overall was that oh, you'll lose the boardwalk, it'll just be in there and it'll go away. Well, it's really designed to be very sturdy and to withstand storms, the kind that we've had. But it has to be put in correctly, and so the subcommittee is very clear that we need to employ someone to do that who will do it the way it's designed to be put in. So that's critical for the survival of it.
Then I move bid number 14-1314. Isn't that the same number as the last one?
No, the other one was
right,
3,
three.
13, 14.
Yeah. Move the bid 14-1314 Jacobs Beach Boardwalk to Coastline Consulting of Madison, Connecticut in the amount of $364,933.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Second, okay. Is any further discussion on the motion? Any questions? Okay, we have a motion on the table, it's made and seconded. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item 6, Town Engineer Jim Portley. Here he is. 6.1, consider and take possible action to award bid 16, here's another one, -1314, tub grinding services at Sullivan Street disposal site.
Good morning.
Good morning, James, how are you?
Good. We had 8 bids. I think we all got a copy of the tabulation. It should have been, yes. 2 lowest ones were very, very close.
We
$2.
ever had 8 bids before?
Huh?
I don't think we ever had 8 bids before.
No. Gives you an indication what's going on there.
With all the storms, a lot of people have bought tub grinders.
That's true. That's true. Oh, getting into a new service. But there was a 2-cent difference between the low bidder, who was out of Middletown, New York, and the next low bidder, which was Running Brook Farms of Killingworth, and it was $2.96 versus $2.98. Difference from about $140 in overall bid. And Running Brook had done a nice job for us last year in cleaning up Jacobs Beach. They were very accommodating, moved material around, cleaned up the site. And I think, in my mind, that experience disposed me to recommend that we not take the low bidder. We take Running Brook Farms for the $2.98 bid price. I think they will serve us well, and they'll also, it's a local company. So that's my recommendation.
When are they available? Should we choose them?
They'll be ready tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, I've got, I told them to get their certificate of insurance in here. I think Pam has talked or contacted them about that. Sooner the better. Got a big pile of brush.
When we had the storm last year, we had trouble getting a tub grinder.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm confused. So we're authorizing their service. So if we have a storm that we need assistance with a tub grinder, is Running Brook, if assuming we pass this, going to be the one we go to? And are they going to be available when we need it?
Well, I think it would be, it depends on what I'm sure they would be available, whether or not the same price. But we bid it out last year after the storm. This wasn't during the storm. This was after the storm. And we had Green Cycle out of, I think they were up in Bristol.
But we do this every year. We get a tub grinding
Well,
service.
yeah, but we usually do it under the consortium of out east there. It's the east, it's not CROG, it's the SCRA, South Central Regional Recycling Area. We were part of a group that went and got a state grant for a tub grinder, and it's been passed around the communities for the last probably 15 years. The problem is right now that machine is no longer operating, and the guy that operated is I think they told me he was very sick and he wasn't operating. So they were looking at bidding out or buying a new machine. And we can't wait until they get all that done. So in the interim, we'll bid this out. And if next year, if they get the machine on operational again, we'll go back to them and see what their price is. They used to charge us so much an hour. I think it was $500 an hour plus fuel.
How much do tub grinders cost?
A lot of money.
$500,000 to $1 million, depending on the size. They're big,
And
and
how-
very, very high maintenance machines too.
How long is this good for? Is this for a year or for from when to when?
We'll probably get out this year. I'll have to do it till July of next year.
Assuming,
We don't get it, well, if we get a big
don't
storm.
say, don't say the word.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
We should be able to clean that place up and reduce it.
yeah, oh, yeah, the volume
All
reduction is
material down
tremendous.
there, yeah. Okay. Any further? Can I get a motion entertained, please?
Yeah, because it's a local company and we've used them before, I would move that we award bid 16, 13, 14 for tub grinding.
Second.
Okay, just to add that the cost is $2 and...
Oh, I'm sorry, $2.98 a cubic yard.
Yeah, okay.
Now,
Just second that?
Yep.
Okay.
what kind of materials are they chopping up? Just brush?
It's brush.
Are they composting anything?
No, this is all just brush and wood that's been deposited. Yeah.
Okay.
And we turn it into a mulch that the citizens can come and
Yeah.
get for free. So a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And it's free?
It's free. They load it themselves. We don't load it.
Okay.
That's another issue.
There's a motion on the table, it's been seconded, no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. James, you got one more.
I do. I received a petition last week from Jennifer Mullet. She lives up on Tupelo, I believe. Get the road she lived on. She had contacted me a couple of months ago about extending a sidewalk from the end of where it terminates now on State Street, which is where the Sachem's elderly housing project is there. Extending that sidewalk up to the intersection of State and Nut Plains and Little Meadow. And told her the procedure would be for her to submit this petition. She did. She got 50 names, I believe. I've indicated to you on a map of the area where that sidewalk would go, and we would more than likely, we would go on the east side of the road. So it's the only logical place for it. So we have this petition. Pam has advised that because it's a petition we would have, and on our sidewalk ordinance requires us to have the public hearing. Whether we have the public hearing now or, at the time of budget preparation is up to the Board of Selectmen. I think it's something that we don't have money for right now.
was gonna ask, we don't really.
And I've advised her that we would, if it was going forward, we'd have to put it in next year's capital budget.
Could it be part of LoCIP funds, or it can't, because it's only roads?
It could be.
there any
LoCIP
money
funds
in there?
can be used for that, for any kind of capital improvement.
Is there any money there?
We've been kind of husbanding it so that we could take care of the Vineyard Point Road Bridge, which we have to demolish and replace. It's in very bad condition. So that,
Yeah, I didn't know how much.
I set them aside as we can so we can take care of big projects.
Yeah, no, I didn't. How much would a project like this be?
Yeah, what's the
I mean,
length?
ballpark.
It's about 2,500 feet.
Okay.
And if you multiply that by, say, a 5-foot width, that gives you about 12,500 feet times $7. So it's about a $100,000 job,
Wow.
more or less.
So the procedure here would be at a later meeting, we could set a public hearing date. And my suggestion is that after the public hearing, Jim, your department's gonna be there, you're gonna be there. If you wanna put it into your capital budget, and
Yes.
then we have, at that point, would have heard from the residents. So when we get your capital budget, we can,
I say do it now
Decided.
then, Joe, because we're not that far away from, we're gonna be talking about capital, right? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying at the
Set it
next
now.
meeting, we can set
Yeah.
a public hearing date,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay?
All right.
I might get some
I
more-
mean, cost
more
aside,
data on it.
Jim, this is, having traversed that, both walking and biking, this is something that's come up a lot before, and it would make a lot of sense to have a sidewalk in that direction, because there's a lot of walkers, bikers, joggers.
As
But I know
as
there's
Jennifer
cost.
points out in her cover letter, that it was something that was identified in our transportation plan.
Yeah, it was.
To
That was on it,
create
yeah.
these kinds of sidewalks to and from, like central places like Adams Middle School,
Yeah.
Guilford Lake School.
Yeah.
We've extended that sidewalk through
Yeah.
a development process, which would allow us to extend it over towards, towards Mount Plains.
Yeah.
You know, in future, we could extend that too. So I think it's generally a good thing. With the sidewalks,
Right.
we've improved and extended, have been used.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, cost aside, it's used now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, so it would be something that is used and beneficial to the residents, so.
Would be better than them walking on the street, because that's still,
So we don't
widened that road, I don't know, how many years ago, Jim, about 10 years ago?
Yeah.
It's more, yeah, it's more than
And
that.
it's still, we did a great job on it, but when people walk on it and you have bikers, it's tough.
A lot of school kids use
Yeah.
that, going back
Right.
and forth.
So we don't want to set the public hearing now? See even set
We
it?
can,
or
we
what do
haven't
you
got
wanna-
you don't have a document to set that up right now, do you?
All right,
Okay.
so you want to,
I'll wait till next meeting. Don't forget that we don't approve the capital plan.
right, so,
We just hear it until next year anyway. So we do have some time. Okay.
so what do we want to do? Table it to the next meeting?
No,
to
we have
receive-
no action to take.
Just as we received the petition.
We received the
All right.
petition, and I'll put it on next month. Yeah, it is next month, isn't it? October's agenda, the first meeting in October. Just have Tracy put it on there as an item. Okay?
Jim, there's a statement in here, we request no portion be assessed against the abutting properties. What's been the historical practice for new sidewalks? Have abutting properties participated or not?
Where we have, you know, that hasn't happened very much over the years. Most of our sidewalk construction has been replacement of existing.
Right.
When we extended sidewalks, say, from Broad Street up to Route 1, we actually were able to work with Walgreens, and they paid a good portion of it, so the town absorbed the rest. So, you know, we've been, oftentimes when we're extending new sidewalks, we get developers.
Developers to-
Yes,
yeah.
that's,
But that brings up an interesting point in that, do these residents realize that if the sidewalk is extended, that they're responsible for the shoveling of it, and that we have a snow ordinance, and, you know,
But they'd have to be
They're-
notified.
I have
as part of
had
the
That's why
hearing.
we have a public hearing.
Yeah, I've had one
Yeah,
email
they'll have to
that,
And they're liable
in
too.
opposition to it because of that.
yeah.
They have liability as well,
Yeah,
but they have to, yeah.
Okay, James, thank you very much.
thank you.
All right. Item 7, 375th Anniversary Committee, Paul May, I see Mr. May up here. Discuss and take possible action on a proposed historic mural at the Sullivan Drive entrance to the East River Preserve.
Good morning.
Morning, Paul. How you
Morning.
doing?
Certainly beats the random graffiti.
Absolutely. And I'm pretty sure it'll cut it down too, especially if you get the students involved and the young teenagers.
I think it's a great idea.
What I did in May, I came up with the idea because we were at the Baldwin School giving a presentation to our person, the young man who did the, came up with the name for our signature event for New Year's New Year's Eve Day. And coming down the ramp onto the cafeteria, I walked by a wall that was painted, and it was a mural, and it was done by the students. And that gave me the idea about the abutment on the bridge that goes over the East River at Sullivan Drive. Maybe we could have a mural in conjunction with the celebration of the 375th, incorporated into our signature events for National Trails Day and the reenactment of the signing of the covenant. The abutment is 5 feet high, and it's 44 feet on each side of the bridge, and that's a total of 88 feet. And I think that it would be very, very impressive for people who are using the only parking area for the East River Preserve to walk through this with the mural on both sides, and it would have the theme of naturally the 375 of past, present, and future. I talked to Lori Hahn in May
regarding this, and she thought it was a good idea. And I said I'd get back to her probably at the end of September, and here we are almost. And then we can take it from there if I get all the approvals. I went to Public Works Commission last month. They thought it was a great idea. They gave a more or less a verbal approval, but suggested that I come to the board to get the final approval. So here we are.
And the 375th committee is in favor
Support
of
of that?
this, yes,
Okay.
and we're supportive of it too.
And they're right suggesting come to the board. of
Absolutely.
Selectmen, because we have to act on it, one way or the other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
So it's the goal to have, obviously, the kids do the mural.
Yes.
Yes, that'll be up to, I guess, the departments, or I don't know how
So
many.
you're gonna organize this, Paul, right?
Well, yes, I'll oversee it.
That's what I
It'll
mean,
be
get it going.
Laurie Hahn, who would be the initial person on this. And then it'll be up to the school or the department itself to decide what themes that they are
Right.
going to use. And
But someone has to so you're gonna oversee it?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, then I move that we allow Paul to oversee a painting of historic mural on the Sullivan Drive entrance at East River Preserve, hopefully utilizing the students to paint the mural.
I guess I would change it slightly to we would endorse the process of doing the mural. If for some reason Paul can't do it, or doesn't, something happens.
Well, he could always get somebody else.
Somebody
but I
else,
mean-
but
Well,
whatever. We're going to
We still
endorse
have
it.
The basic thing is that we're approving
Yeah, we have to
Right.
the
approve it.
painting of a mural
Yeah.
by the high school students to commemorate the 375th anniversary of the town.
Right,
That's your motion?
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Okay, that's your motion.
Are we going to supply the paint, or is the 375th, or is the school department? I mean,
Should be the
I-
375th.
right, we'll work on that. I've already.
We got to have enough money somewhere to provide a little bit of paint.
I have already discussed something with
think we got
a
some money.
supplier who has paint, of course, but a representative or a consultant from that particular manufacturer will come in and discuss everything with us, how to prepare the wall, what to do, and the types of paint and how it's applied.
Just as a procedural fact, we had a motion. Did anybody second it?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion?
And I would just remind you that the original Boston to New York crossing over the
Yep.
East River was actually the East Bear House
Right.
Bridge, which isn't too far away, so I'm
Yep.
sure you'll include that in, because this is the
We'll get
remaining
through-
closing.
One way or the other, we'll get at
Crossing.
least 375 years on it.
It's got to be a big appointment. Okay, we have a motion. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
All right.
All right, thank you.
I'm
Thank you,
gonna
Paul.
abstain.
Thank you very much.
It's a- Yeah, just
Why?
because
You
I
don't
think
have
it's,
You don't have to.
I mean, I
Vote for
approve
it.
it, but I don't want there to be any.
No, but
There's-
that's your committee, you
there's
should
no
have.
It
cost.
is, and we
There's no
endorse it.
conflict, there's
I
no-
just don't,
There's no cost, there's
Oh, it's up to you.
there's
I don't
no
understand.
harm.
It's okay.
all right, I'll vote yes.
I'm not twisting your arm.
I just don't want there to be the appearance of
No, there's no
any
conflict.
conflict or anything. It's,
I
you
would-
know.
Well, you're not gonna
I
make-
support
You're not
it.
going to make money on it, so
No.
don't worry about it.
We have we have a motion that there's no conflict, Veronica?
I'll guarantee it.
Okay.
Okay. It was 4. Okay, you got that?
Got it,
Okay. All right. Pam, I'm going to call you up to the table for number 8. To open and act upon the bids received by the Board of Selectmen for the sale of 2 town open space parcels of land identified as Lot 2 on the Town of Guilford Assessors Map 123 and parcel 25 B7 on map 122 respectively, located adjacent to Quantified Hills condominium pursuant to Chapter 94 of the Town Code, subject to a public hearing to be held on October 21st in accordance with Connecticut General Statute 7-163, small e. What are we doing?
Good morning.
Please explain to everybody.
Good morning,
okay?
yep.
Yeah. Good morning.
As you know, the town acquired the 2 parcels that are subject of today's meeting by deed in lieu of foreclosure in town meeting. And we went out to bid in accordance with our code, section, chapter 94, and followed the procedures there. and we published the bid. We had a purchase and sale agreement drafted by outside counsel, which was posted on our website. And we received 2 bids, and in accordance with the code section, the board is to open the bids at a Board of Selectmen meeting, and, which I can do if you authorize me to do it right now. And in accordance with the code section, the board has 2 options. You can award the bid, but you must award to the highest bid. Or you can decide not to award either bid and wait and try it again in the spring, or whatever you want to do. But those are your 2 options. And when I open them, and if you decide to award today, then what will occur is you'll be saying that you're awarding subject to a public hearing, which is required by statute, and that public hearing contingency is already in the contract. So what in fact will occur is shortly, in the next couple of days, we would sign a contract with the awarded bidder. So you're and it would be subject to the public hearing. Now, once you have the public hearing, depending on how that goes, if there's objections or you're getting some kind of feedback, you can always terminate the contract because it's a contingency in the contract, or you just proceed. You will already have your approvals.
Is there an option to hear the bids, table it to the next meeting, and then decide?
The procedure doesn't speak to that. I mean, I don't think that should be objectionable.
Would you please explain, again, I know you did it in a past meeting, why this does not require a town meeting, like we need for all other parcels?
Yeah. Our charter distinguishes the sale of property in it distinguishes 2 different types of sales of property. One is sales of property that is used or reserved for town purposes. The other is sales of property that is not used or reserved for town purposes. So the way to think about this is because we acquired it by deed in lieu of foreclosure. I mean, we acquired it to solve a tax issue, and we immediately you're immediately trying to sell it.
Yeah.
It's not considered used for town purposes. And so the charter specifically says, if it's used or reserved for town purposes, then you have to have a town meeting. But if it's not, and it refers to Chapter 94, and that's why we fall under 94. And actually, a while back, I had done some historical with Tracy's help, Board of Selectmen research, and there is precedent with deeds in lieu of foreclosure where they've done that. So.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? Because I know that was a bit of confusion I wanted to clear up. Okay. The next step would be open the bids, right?
Okay, you authorize me to open the bids?
How many do we have?
2. I'll probably ask for a motion on that. I have a motion on it?
Move that we authorize Pam to open the bids.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, now you're authorized.
Okay. There we go. All right. The envelope says this is from New England Forest Products, Inc. of Guilford. And it has the required non-conflict, non-collusive affidavit. So it's a complete bid. The offer is to purchase both parcels for $1,400.
That's the total.
That's the total
Okay.
for both parcels. And the second bid is from the Guilford Land Conservation Trust. It's a complete bid, and the offer is $19,000 for both
both?
parcels. Yeah.
19,000.
Correct.
Could you repeat the first bid again, please?
1,400.
That was
Right.
1,400, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. There's some big difference, I wanted to make sure. And you said both of those amounts are for the
Both.
2 parcels?
Correct.
All right, okay,
And both bids were complete.
And both bids were complete.
okay.
I'll move we accept the Guilford Land Trust offer of 19,000 for both parcels.
I would
And then just add maybe subject to the public hearing.
Subject to the
subject to
public
hearing and the contract being
And
signed and all those
authorize the
conditions.
first selectman.
Right.
And authorize the first selectman to sign.
Contract.
All right, is a motion, was there a second?
Second.
Second. Further discussion? Okay. I would just add that we have in our packets a meeting on October 21st, which is a regular scheduled selectmen's meeting, in the morning, our morning meeting, to have a public hearing. Is there any need for us to have an evening meeting on this for the public?
There's no requirement.
No, I'm asking the board. Do you have any problem with this being a morning meeting?
No, we've had so many,
Okay.
personally, we've had
Okay.
so many meetings and discussions about it, and it's been
Okay,
pretty.
so that's in the motion of October 21st, 2013 at 8:30 a.m. In the Guilford Town Hall. Do you have that, Karen? Okay. No further discussion?
Only to note that the land trust is an adjacent landowner, so it just adds to their aggregate holdings in this particular area.
Okay.
So I think it's a good choice.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
I got to get you after the meeting because it's public comment. Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you, Pam. All right. Item 9.1, consider and take possible action on appointment of members of the Hazard Mitigation Committee. Hallelujah. All right, we finally got 7 people. You have a list of the individuals. John Hensington, Hank Braver, Richard Meyer, Kirtland Griffin, Alan Brown, Kevin McGee. Do you know that, Kevin? Oh, I know. Dennis Johnson.
I'll move the appointment of the members as read.
Second?
Gary?
I guess I was surprised at Kevin and Dennis. I would have thought we would have had somebody from engineering. I know all these people are over committee.
No
but-
one from engineering actually lives in Guilford. They can be there as a staff person.
Oh, interesting.
They're representing themselves as taxpayers, not as
Oh,
staff.
okay, so
Okay.
that, and planning
Planning would be George Crawl.
would be George?
Yeah.
And I'm sure
I
Jim
mean-
Portley could be an
They
addendum to
certainly
it.
will be
Liaison.
staff
Yeah, they'll be
people.
involved.
Okay, okay, I just,
It took so long.
well, I know that, I know that, I just, it surprised me because this is, it seems
No,
to be
but-
an engineering problem.
Yeah.
Right, which he'll be involved. This
Principally.
is just citizenry,
Okay.
as Jim
Okay.
Joe
Okay.
said.
No,
Did you make the motion?
Yep.
I seconded.
You seconded?
Yep.
Gary had a discussion. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Praise the Lord. We will,
They'll be happy too.
yeah, we'll set him up and we'll arrange the first meeting. Tracy knows that to see what the availability is for these people. Okay? And that's, by the way, the appointment of that committee was part of our ordinance we adopted a couple of months ago. 9.2, act on a recommendation to appoint Jerry Seaman as member at large to the Green Committee.
So moved?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have 10.1 to 10.7, request for the use of town property.
I would move that we approve the usage for 2 events and the 7 signs, I think I added up, as listed in the agenda.
Okay,
Second?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 11.1, the building officials monthly report, and 11.2, the public works department monthly report. The building building department has become quite active, as you can see last 7, 8 months now. Okay, see no problem. Old business? I don't have any at this point. Any?
No.
New business? None at this point. Just a reminder, I don't know when this tape is going to be played, but the Guilford Fair is this weekend, starting Friday afternoon. Citizens Day Parade is Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. So I hope everyone can attend. It's one of the highlighted weekends in Guilford.
And looking at these requests, there's a lot of great events at the end of this month, next month, so I'm sure we'll.
Public forum limited to 3 minutes regarding any issue. Sam, did you want to address the board? Sorry. I'm just calling Pam.
They have to sign the,
It's already signed.
Signed.
I was the only one.
the public hearing.
Yes.
Petition.
We got an executive session coming anyway. I'm sorry, Sam, go ahead, please.
Sam Bartlett, Great Hill in North Guilford. This town sale of the open space parcels, I find it a lot different than it was years ago as far as open space, I guess, in the town. And I think the land trust has done a remarkable job. They have to find money, they have to maintain, they have to do all this stuff. I can't understand why the town would put open space out to bid. There's ways to just give it to them through a town meeting. And to put it out to bid, to have something happen to it, I don't think was in the best interest of the town. And if it's not too late after the public hearing, I would suggest you find a way to give it to the land trust and not charge them money.
Okay.
Thank
So, no, thank you very much. Anybody else wishing to address the board? Okay. Item 15, consider and take possible action on potential additional sick leave for GEA employee. Executive session will be required. I am going to invite the Human Resources Director, the Park and Rec Director, and the Finance Director if she wishes to stay.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We will be coming back for a vote.
Hey,
Can we?
Rick.
Take a break? Sure. We need a motion to come out of executive session, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. We approve the request from the employee for donated sick time to October 25th, 2013.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Only do we have to put that it's the GEA employee?
Yes, we do. Good point. Okay.
Go ahead, I had
Yeah,
that.
amend.
And that's up to and including October 25th. If enough time has been donated, obviously.
Correct.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We're adjourned at 10:27.